Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. So in this live stream, I'm just going to give a warning. I'm going to give historical context on what happens and what has happened in other countries when, I can't think of a better word, when white people become the minorities in certain countries. Now, I'm going to talk about Haiti, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. But before we get on to that, guys, I just want everybody to, I just want everybody to understand where I am, all right? I think everybody should be proud of the country that they come from. I think everybody should be proud of who they are, no matter who they are, where they're from, or what they do. I think everybody should be proud. And if you're not proud of the place you live, move somewhere that you are proud of. But when you go there, don't try and turn that place into the place that you fled from, because it just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense at all. It doesn't make sense at all. So what I'm getting at here is if I moved to the United States, I wouldn't start putting up British flags and wanting other people to everybody has to have tea and start getting offended, by people shouting USA. I would actually be like, I'd be all in, guys. I would be all in. If I moved to America, I'd have a big stars and stripes on my lawn. I'd be shouting USA. I'd be having barbecues. I'd be doing the whole American culture. I would be all in on American culture. So before we get to this, we've got to understand and we've got to give context about migration in the West. It is absolutely crackers, guys. It really is crazy right now. So I've just got a little video here. A little video. It's GB News. I'm going to before I get into this live stream, guys, I've got a little video. I'm going to share it with you guys. It's Nigel Farage talking about Donald Trump. So I'm sloping my shoulders here. I'm not making any judgments. I'm just saying, this is what some people are. This is what Donald Trump's saying, all right? So if anybody wants to get me done, anybody wants to knock at my door, I'm not saying anything. I'm just sharing what Donald Trump said. Sorry, let me bring this back.
The American administration a few days ago launched their national security review. And what it has to say about Europe is absolutely fascinating. Listen to this clip from Donald Trump being interviewed in the last 24 hours by Politico.
Most European nations, they're decaying. They're decaying. I think they're weak, but I also think that they want to be so politically correct. I think they don't know what to do. Europe doesn't know what to do. Their immigration policy is a disaster. What they're doing with immigration is a disaster.
Now, there was huge criticism today in the House of Commons of that interview, of that review. It seemed that what Ed Davey, the leader of the Lib Dems, was saying was, we want America to be here to defend us, but how dare they make any comment on how we operate our business, which I found slightly odd. But back to the main theme. What Trump is saying, what the American administration is saying, is that mass migration is leading to the potential of civilizational erasure. Now, these are very, very strong words. But on the broader theme of is Europe decaying, I want to get your thoughts on it. Tweet hashtag.
So let's take crime. Let's take crime out of the question. So let's just consider that there is no migrant crime across the West. Just go with me, guys. Go with me for a second, all right? And I'm just giving you guys the numbers, all right? I'm just giving you guys the numbers, all right? Let's just say that there's no crime among migrants in the West. Absolutely zero. Absolutely zero crime among migrants in the West. The sheer numbers, Western civilization will be gone. Now, what do we have to look at? What do we have to look at is sorry, guys, let me put the chat on. What do we have to look at historically when white people become minorities? Well, I'm going to give you guys three historical contexts here. And this is going, and I'm going from AI here. You guys can do your own research. You can search these things up yourself. This is historical fact. So in Haiti, there was a Haitian revolution in 1804. This conflict involved the widespread killing of white leaders and colonists. Widespread. You guys can go check that out yourself. This was so bad that one of the things that they told people to do is, when you guys can go check this, guys. Okay, this is the history of Haiti, the fall of, the first Haitian Empire. White people became the minority, and they were killed in their sleep. People came in, and what they said is, don't make any noise, use knives and kill people in their sleep. You guys can go check that out yourselves. There's plenty of stuff on Wikipedia. There's plenty of stuff on the internet about that. It's all there. It's readily available. Nobody can deny that. Literally, nobody can deny that. Zimbabwe, in the early 2000s, when President Robert Mugabe took over. Look, guys, just going back to Haiti quickly. If you guys want to go down a dark path, and I mean a really dark path, go and look up Haitian voodoo. Like, if you want to start going down these conspiracy theories, everything leads you back to Haitian voodoo. And Haitian voodoo, what doesn't matter what you call it, the practice of Haitian voodoo, you can trace that back to recorded history. You can literally trace that that practice, called various different things, through all of recorded history. So again, you guys can go and you guys can go and look at this yourselves. All right, early 2000s. In the early 2000s, under Robert Mugabe's government, where, and if you've looked at Robert Mugabe, he destroyed Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe was a prosperous country, ridiculously prosperous. There was white farmers, they were working the land and everything worked. I was in the army in the late 90s, and we had a lot of Zimbabweans in the military, and they were solid guys. But there were targeted attacks on white farmers, and I think it was called the land redistribution or something, where they literally went into farms. You guys can check this yourselves. They literally went into farms, murdered the white farm owners, and took over the farms. That's the reality. It was a wild time. So that really happened, Zimbabwe. And then we've also got that's going on. Donald Trump would argue this is going on right now. We have got the white genocide in South Africa. Now, you guys can remember, I think it was in May. In May this year. You guys remember when Donald Trump pulled the, he pulled the TV out, and you've got that, you've got all these, you've got this, the guy in South Africa, I can't remember his name. He's literally standing on the stage saying, and he's chanting, "Kill the white man, kill the farmer." So we've got historical context. We've got historical context of what happens when people become minorities. Now, you guys may or may not think that may or may not happen in your own countries, but history has a very particular way of repeating itself, and it usually goes to those places where people think it can't happen. When people think, "Oh, that can't happen here, that won't happen here, that can't happen to us," kind of does, guys. It kind of does. And what I'm looking at the West right now, from what Donald Trump's saying, We are being absolutely overrun. And even in London, have you guys seen the article where Sadiq Khan says white people don't? Let me get this up. Let me get this up, because Sadiq Khan says white people don't represent London. Hang on. I'm going to fact check myself. Right, okay, so let me get the article up here. I was right. Where is that? Here we are. Right, so this is from the ITV. I'm going to share this with you guys. So Sadiq Khan, hang on, I'll share this. I'll share this because I don't want to. Look, guys, I'll share this. So, you know, you may think that this is not real, you know, but the mayor's office. I mean, look, guys, I'm not saying this. This is the article, and this is an old article as well. This is from 2023. Mayor's office under fire after website says white family doesn't represent real Londoners. They're not wrong. They're absolutely not wrong. And it is white people becoming a minority in London. You know, so what happens when white people become a minority? Well, I've given you guys the context of Haiti, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. You know, for people who think that these sort of things can't happen, they do, and they keep happening. You know, people in Haiti, you know, the French in Haiti, they will have thought that this can't happen. You know, the people in Zimbabwe will have thought, oh, that won't happen. You know, the people in Zimbabwe will have looked at Haiti and thought, oh, this can't happen here. This is Zimbabwe. And then the people in South Africa will have thought, oh, this can't happen in South Africa. That's Zimbabwe. Are we going to be one of those countries that looks back and says, oh, yeah, it kind of did happen. You know, it kind of did happen. Right, listen, guys, I am doing another live stream this morning. Googleino saying, why another live? So Googleino, the topics I wanted to cover on the live streams were just too widely varying. It wouldn't have made sense if I'd have done one live stream and covered all the topics. It would have just been a mismatch. So this is going to be a short live stream. I am going to be closing this one down, and then I'm going to be jumping back on literally in a couple of minutes. And I'm going to be talking about the Falklands. I'm going to be talking about Antarctica, and I'm going to be talking about a new war front breaking open for the United Kingdom. Temple Matt is saying Europe is a frog in a pot and Trump is the one that can see the flames under us. He's absolutely right, guys. He absolutely is. Silly Gallardi is saying it happened in Lebanon. It used to be Christian until the late 70s. Yeah, so Lebanon, you know what? I would say it also happened in Iran, but with the Persian Iranians and the Arab Iranians. You know, when the Islamists took over Iran, like, have you guys seen pictures of Iran in like the 70s or the 60s? It's wild. You know, it's absolutely wild. John is saying, Sean, I was wondering if you watched Undercover Migrant. I didn't know. I didn't watch it. I just watched it not long ago on YouTube. It was on mainstream TV last night. It was well eye-opener. Yeah, I've not watched it. I haven't watched it. I will watch it. I haven't. What I will say about the migrant crisis in France, it's not going anywhere, guys. It's not going anywhere. You know, we're having these people coming together to emergency talks and emergency meetings, and oh, they're going to sign this document and they're going to sign this document. It's not going anywhere, guys. So just forget and don't give yourself any hope. Get rid of hope. Without hope, you don't have despair. Get rid of any hope that the migrant crisis coming across Europe, coming to the United Kingdom, get rid of any hope that the boats will be stopped. I've given you guys a solution on how to stop the boats. People need to form their own NGO. Christians for Calais, you know, Brits for France. something like that, and you form an NGO, you register it in France, and you operate there, and you operate under the guise of providing security, monitoring, and environmental services to the people of northern France. That's what you frame it as. What you do, you open a website, you let the people of France know where these migrant camps are, the people of northern France. You work with the local police, and you clean up the beaches. Clean up the beaches for beer bottles, crisp packets, rubber dinghies, outboard motors, jerry cans full of diesel, petrol. That's what you do. That's the only way, that's the only realistic way to fight that migrant crisis. There's the guys going over there. They're having success. They're going to get closed down, guys. I promise you, they're going to get closed down. They're going to get arrested. They're going to be in a French jail. It's not going to be a good time for them. And that's going to be a warning to everybody else. Listen, everything I do, I understand you need legal protection and you need that legal framework above you. And the only way to court for a sustainable solution to the migrant crisis is to form an NGO, to get funding for an NGO. You can tap into existing funding channels. You can have donate. Can you imagine a website? And you could click on that website and you could see real-time drone footage. Like the war map I just showed you, an interactive map where dinghies have been stopped and what's being done. You would know where your money's being spent. And, when people say how much would this cost him for this, and I said that this would cost £1 million a year, and that £1 million a year would be, there'd need to be a reception in Dover or Folkestone, wherever there's probably Folkestone. So volunteers make their way down to Folkestone. When they get to Folkestone, everything is paid for then. Their transport to Calais is paid for. Their food, accommodation, everything they need in Calais is paid for. That's the only way to stop the migrant crisis, guys. It needs to be stopped in France. Anything else, these guys are going to get taken down. Katrina is saying you need to watch that documentary. It will show you how the police are working with the illegals. The thing is, guys, the police don't want them there. If the police don't get rid of them somehow, then the local French citizens, the situation's a lot more complicated, look, guys, I've seen this now. Okay. Can you imagine, right, how terrifying it is for people who live in rural northern France? Look, guys, and I'm British. I'm worried about this country. I will put Britain first all the time. Unless I move to America, then I'll put America first. Can you imagine how terrifying it is for people, old people, young people, any people who live in northern France and 200 meters away, 100 meters away, there's a migrant camp with 1,000 people, and these people are roaming in gangs, just roaming around your house, looking through your windows. Can you imagine how terrifying that is? The police in northern France, they just want those people out of their country. And I understand that. I understand that. So it's all, we can point the finger and we can say those French police shouldn't be helping them. What other option do they have? And I'm not giving you guys I'm giving you guys the perspective from the French, right? The French police are worried about crimes against French people. That's the reality. You can argue about British police, but a way to get rid of those migrants is to get them on boats and get them to the UK. That's the reality, guys. All right. That is the absolute reality. And the French need to stop them entering France in the first place. So, yeah. So that's not okay. So that's nothing to do with the French police. This is political now. This is political. And if we say that they don't want to stop the migrants, then you understand it's virtually impossible. So my solution is the only solution, guys. Literally, my solution is the only solution to stop the migrant crisis. It is to start an NGO in France. Doesn't matter what it's called, but that NGO would have legal protections. It would have a legal framework. you know, and they would then be able to close that down, close those beaches down. It would turn into the Wild West. It would turn into the Wild West. Katrina is saying, yes, they'll be as terrified as us, but I want safety for my family. And no, look, Katrina, I totally understand. I totally understand. When we're looking at this situation, you know, you've got to understand that there's, you know, you've got to understand all aspects. People in the United Kingdom don't want to be afraid. People in France don't want to be afraid. So everybody's trying to do something to look after themselves, and that's human nature. I'm saying that the reason the police potentially, I don't know, I've not seen this documentary. I don't know if this is happening. I need to slope his shoulders myself because I don't want to get into trouble. If it is true what you guys are saying about this documentary, that the police, the military are helping these migrants get across the border, which I don't doubt, it's because everybody that they get out of France is everybody that they get out of France. Otherwise, these migrant camps will just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then that's a French problem. So the French are pushing that problem to the United Kingdom. And that's just the reality. That's just the reality. Sean, do a recap for Donna. Sean, do a recap for Donna. Right, Donna, I was talking about the concept of mass migration into Western countries, and I gave historical context of what happens when white people become a minority. Now, I gave the context of Haiti in 1804, where, you know, the white colonists were murdered, slaughtered in their sleep. Most of this why they were told to do, and the local Haitians, they did that by silent weapons. A lot of these were bladed implements while these people were sleeping. I gave the context of Zimbabwe in the when Robert Mugabe took over, attacking white farmers, killing many white farmers. And I gave the most recent of May, I think it was May 2025, when Donald Trump was talking about the white genocide that's happening in South Africa. Now, that's what Donald Trump was saying. Obviously, I've not been to South Africa. I don't know. You guys fact check it yourself. But Donald Trump was saying this, so I am sloping my shoulders. And I was just giving this as a warning to what happens to, what happens to people when they become a minority in some, what happens to some people when they become minorities. And, I don't think people can say this will never happen here, because there's historical context, there's historical context. Like I just said there, guys, let me share this again. I'll share this for you, Donna. I'll share this for you. This is for you, Donna. So when we talk about becoming minorities, the mayor's office is under fire after the website says white family doesn't represent real Londoners. So it looks like, as far as Sadiq Khan's, and this is an old article, guys, this is from 2023. So it does look like, as far as Sadiq Khan's concerned, that white people are already a minority in London. So, and you can replicate that of other cities and towns in the United Kingdom. But, even if we consider that, there is no crime, even if we consider that there is no crime associated with minorities and no malice, just the sheer numbers, guys, it's done, it's over, it's finished, it's not coming back. Right, hang on, guys. Not that one. Is that one? No, sorry, not that. There we are. Yeah. Look, I've not seen the documentary. Bad things can happen in these migrant camps, guys. Look, when I talk about these migrant camps, when I say bad things can happen in these migrant camps, you've got to understand the conditions. Like jail in the UK would be jail in the UK is an upgrade from these migrant camps in northern France. Like, if you're in one of these migrant camps in northern France, you're struggling for food, you live in a tent, it's cold, it's wet, if you get sent to jail in the UK, you've got 3 meals a day, you've got medical care, You've got a warm, dry place to live with blankets, you know, and, you know, it's fine. So worst case scenario, you get sent to jail in the United Kingdom and it's better than the conditions you're in. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now. This was only a short live stream. I am going to come back on shortly in a couple of minutes and I'm going to do another live stream. Yes, I am going to do another live stream about the Falklands, because it's all brewing up again in the Falklands. I do believe the Falkland Islands is going to be another war. It's going to be another war from the United Kingdom. It looks like this is going to happen when the United Kingdom is already committed in Ukraine, because that's moving forwards now. It looks like that can't happen. Right, guys, just before I go, can somebody give Silly Gallardi let Silly Gallardi know where this documentary is? I think it's called Undercover Migrants or something. And it's on, I don't know what it's on. I don't know what it's on. I've seen a few people have sent me the links. Guys, is it called Undercover Migrant? I think it's called right. So I think it's called Undercover Migrant on YouTube. I think. I might be wrong on that one, guys. I might be wrong. Anyway, guys, I'm going to close this down. I'll be back on shortly. I'll be back on shortly, guys, and I will be talking about the Falklands. I'll be talking about a new war front opening up from the United Kingdom and how this will be an absolute swizzle. Because war right now, it's all about Antarctica, guys. It's all about Antarctica. Hang on. Anyway, I will be closing this down now, and I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes.